This is Adobe Illustrator from 1988, the very first Adobe software sold to artists. I lost the discs, but I still have the box. And this is my first copy of Photoshop. Software so huge, it could only be contained on 5 floppy disks. This is me going to San Francisco Apple headquarters in 2006 to get Adobe Photoshop CS2. And I also got one of the first versions of Lightroom.
Yes, it's going to be one of those kind of videos, because today we talk about
the list of legitimate complaints against Adobe is huge.
So buggy.
Oh, crashed on me again.
so many crashes.
It crashes all the time.
Could we have 3D now?
Why are the hotkeys so different?
You took away Pantone.
But what did they do to animate?
Where did they bury that setting?
Dude, like, why can't Lightroom be more like,
The stock selection? Woof.
generative what?
Neural what?
Neural what?
Do not get me started on the subscriptions.
Subscription model? Why?
Bleh.
And let's pin a friend who doesn't like subscription models.
I can start with my biggest complaint. 3D. And Adobe's approach to 3D has been clunky at best and god-awful at worst. Adobe Dimension, anyone remember that one? It's not some newfangled technology, folks. 3D has kind of been around for a few decades. It is insane to think that Element 3D from Video Copilot came out in 2012 and is still 10 times better than what Adobe After Effects is adding right now. Don't get me started on how they get substance. And I was waiting, thinking finally we are going to bring in 3D into Adobe Creative Cloud. And what do? They keep it outside of Creative Cloud. I cannot afford another Adobe subscription on top of my Adobe subscription that's supposed to be everything. Not even a discount if you already own all the other Creative Cloud services to just get a better deal in substance. No. Heaven forbid. Now, here's where things get real, because it's not all Adobe's fault. In the years before Creative Cloud and the subscription service, if you wanted all the apps that Adobe had to offer, you had to buy the Master Collection. The Master Collection cost $2,600. Now, that's not 100% true. You get smaller bundles like the Production Premium. This one only costs $1,600 or $1,700, unless you could get the student discount, and then it was only $500. We have here Adobe Premiere, After Effects, Photoshop, Illustrator, Flash Catalyst, Flash Professional, Adobe Sound Booth, Adobe On Location, Adobe Encore, and then Dynamic Link and Bridge, and Device Central CS5, whatever the hell that was. Things like this were your choices back then. There was no $50 or $70 version of any of this. Your choice, if you wanted to play by the rules, was to save up hundreds, if not thousands of dollars just to get one version of these. Or you could just pay for them individually, such as this Adobe After Effects 4.1 from 1999. I'm sure this was probably $500, maybe more, maybe less. Put on the screen if it's a little different. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you were going to be a corporation these days, just focused on the money and the profits, to be bloated with software, to be slow on the updates, to be poor at customer service, there are many ways you can do that. There are so many industries where you can just be the digital monopoly and you just control it all and you don't really care because you're the only place in town. Of all the places to plant your flag and say, we're going to be the industry leader, you don't want to do it with creatives. Because we're insane.
Hello, I am your Adobe representative. What can I get all you creative?
Can you even see in that thing?
I cannot. So what can I get all of you?
Oh, we can shoot at like 2 megapixels.
we've moved up to HD now. Why can't Photoshop be more like Painter with real brushes?
Now we can start shooting at 6 megapixels.
We've moved up to 4K now.
Uh-huh.
Why can't Photoshop be more like Procreate with real brushes?
We're starting to shoot RAW, but Sony and Nikon and Canon are all doing it differently. But you can work with all of them, right?
Uh-huh.
One word, 3D.
Uh-huh.
This can shoot video now.
Ooh. One word.
3D.
I think you said that one.
No, man. This kind of 3D.
Can I have some more brushes?
Sure.
So can we take Animator, but hook it up with a live streamer, but use it like an avatar and be able to have live interactions with the audience, but broadcast it to the world at the same time?
And now, of course, here's where some of the sins on our side was. Or maybe it was just a mutual sinning all around. Because if you could not afford any of these bundles, much less the Master Collection, and trust me, I could never afford the Master Collection, why, you just cracked it. And what is crack, you ask? Piracy, my friend. Piracy. If you couldn't afford a copy of Photoshop or After Effects, why, you just downloaded a crack, installed that, and if you were lucky, if you actually found something that actually worked on the version that you were trying to borrow from someone else. And now that leads us to... That was a fun 24 hours, wasn't it?
No.
You don't have to go very far on my channel to see how much I rely on Adobe Animate. Now, I wasn't special enough to receive one of those personalized emails, but I heard pretty quickly that basically Animate was going to be removed in 30 days. There are kicks to the groin, and then there's extra special kicks to the groin. The ones that make you go, what did we ever do to get this? That one, now that a week or so has gone by, I still have absolutely no clue how something that remarkably stupid happened. On one hand, you think, well, hey, maybe Adobe just really didn't realize how many people were still using it. Until you think about it. Because anytime you open any Adobe app these days, the first thing it does is it phones home. It says, hi, I'm Photoshop, or I'm Animate, I'm opening up. Does he have a subscription account? Adobe probably would know down to the individual how many people and how often they were still using Adobe Animate. Just filling up a little data server somewhere of just like, oh, Tommy opened it up again. Oh, Tommy opened it up again. Oh, it crashed 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 again. Yeah, Adobe Animate has been a bit, crashy. I think I say 2 Hail Marys every time I open the damn thing up. Oh, I'd say it's a fairly good chance that every time I choose a new color... Oh, I have my auto recovery settings, I think, to like every 4 minutes now. I mean, there are still a number of YouTube animators out there who are using older versions, maybe CS, maybe even still when it was called Flash, and you see them doing their live streams and they're just playing it out and you're looking at the interface and you're going, holy crap. That's an old version of Flash. Well, we're all in that boat now, aren't we? I mean, the whole reason I'm doing this song and dance is because of Adobe Animate. We all know Flash has been on life support for quite some time. I think almost roughly at the same time that I was buying a version of Flash Professional, right around the same time that Steve Jobs over at Apple had his open letter called Thoughts on Flash, April 2010. And he said that these newfangled iPhones and iPads were not going to carry Flash for a number of reasons. That was the original sin. It was the original sin at Apple. Many years ago, Avid, best known for Pro Tools and their editing suite of applications, they were beginning to suggest they were no longer going to support Apple computers. And there were a lot of editors in Hollywood using Avid on Apple. So panic set in, much worse than what was going on with Animate. And a lot of people fled to either Premiere 6 at the time or Final Cut Pro, which eventually becomes Final Cut Studio. Let's see, back then it was Final Cut Pro 7, Motion 4, Soundtrack Pro, Color 1.5, Compressor, and DVD Studio Pro. I miss making things strictly for DVD. I really do. Kind of funny now that history is kind of repeating itself, because now we're getting the recent announcements of Creator Studio, as once again, various Apple apps are now moving to a subscription base in a direct competition to Adobe's Creative Cloud. Yeah, but before you start thinking, yeah, Apple's going to do any better, they've got their own history. They've got their own sins, because if you want, talk to any photographer about Apple Aperture. Now's the time where we get to some of the cardinal sins. The big ones. Like,
We have a special tonight. It's AI soaked in AI with a touch of AI and just a sprinkle of AI. What do you think?
Wow, far out, man.
It's a great first start.
I need that to work at print resolution. Can it do print resolution?
We will look in with that. Can that be upscaled to 4K? No, it can't do that. I can't use that. Can we extract out just the pieces that we need? No. Those generative extra frames, I can't work with that.
Can we see anything else from the kitchen?
Just talked with the kitchen, and they say that AI is the only thing on the menu. So, AI for you, AI for you. How about some AI for you?
No, I can't use that.
I was brought in early with Firefly. Adobe reached out to me and did Zoom calls and all that fun. And I will admit that kind of took your breath away the first time you did a prompt. And it wasn't perfect, but it was kind of magical. But here's the deal. The consumers will think it's good enough, but they're not going to pay for it. The professionals will only pay for it if it's up to their standards. And of course, if you're already draining the lake just to get a lower resolution 5-second video, well then how much of the planet would you have to swallow? How big of a data center would you need for a professional need? But hey, that's a discussion for another video. Let's just say that the sins of AI are so large that I don't know how much penance we're all going to have to contend with. I don't know what will move the needle with a company as big as Adobe or Apple anymore. It is rare that anyone decided to reverse, especially that quickly and that distinctly. So you want to be hopeful. That being said, use your voice. It was great to see YouTube, and I'm sure X and every place that we all congregate were filled with people saying this is unfair, this is unusual, even for a big old company like Adobe. Maybe they heard us. Things changed, so maybe we had an effect. Here I am using Apple technology to go on to a Google platform, using a bunch of Adobe stuff. All that can go away. I'm old enough to remember a time where my only options were to do it by hand with construction paper and markers, maybe the simplest pieces of software. And my only distribution was public access. Educational public access while we're at it. And if I can go to whatever audience was watching that back in college, we can handle any of these disasters. If you do not like Adobe and you do not want to pay Adobe, you have options that back when I was in college, I could only dream of. Look, Toon Boom, you look really, really good. I am very, 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 very interested. But for us generalists who are already paying up to $70 a month just to have the suite that, even if Animate truly bit the dust in 12 months, I can't exactly walk away from Photoshop and InDesign and After Effects and Premiere. I can't drop $77 or $139 a month for one app. That's crazy. That's crazy. But I digress. We'll do a Sins of Toon Boom some other time. I don't know, man. I'm just an old man in an analog boat in a digital river. I'll tell you one thing we can do. We can dance.
I'm gonna get it.